So in closing, okay, so one, it's super exciting for me to be with all of you. There's a lot to talk about. I'm going to give you a brief 30-minute introduction to this thing called the R Factor. My journey began in Worthington, Ohio, Central Ohio. Went to high school there, ran track, played football. Went to Ohio State my freshman year on a track and field scholarship, and then transferred to UCLA. And that was significant because our locker room for track and field was in Poly Pavilion, which is where the basketball team was. And the coach at the time was in his final 3 years. His name was John Wooden. So I'm this young Central Ohio kid and didn't really know much, but here I am in the presence of arguably the best coach in the history of intercollegiate athletics. And while I was there, I got to watch John win his 9th and 10th national championships. Unheard of. They called him the Wizard of Westwood because it looked and felt like magic from the outside. Well, I got a 3-year inside look at how John Wooden coached. And here's what I came away with, and that was, I came away with a question. And this is what I've spent my adult life doing. And in fact, really, when all is said and done, I want to invite you on a journey. And we call it the Journey to Elite. Because Coach Wooden was an elite coach. And what he did is he brought out elite in his athletes. He brought elite out in individuals. He brought elite out in a team. And so I began this quest, and it's brought us to today. Now I've been in this business for 35 years, all over the world. We serve companies, we serve athletics, and we serve education. And the educational world for us is kind of new, that the last 5 or 6 years. Now, granted, my wife is from San Diego. She taught first grade for 25 years. And then when we moved from San Diego to Columbus, awesome move. We moved for the weather, obviously. She retired, and then the moment we got to Dublin, Ohio, she immediately started volunteering. They became a sub, so now she subs K1 and 2 in the Dublin area. Has done that now for, 15 years. But here's the definition of elite that we use, and I think you'll like this. You ready for it? Very sophisticated. Best version of you. That's it. That's the definition. Best version of you. Not you compared to somebody else. You compared to what you are capable of. And here's the journey to elite. Here's how you get there. Be better today than you were yesterday. Be better tomorrow than you were today. Now, ready? Relentlessly. And we'll go back for a second. Elite, best version of you. When we teach this to young people, students love the definition. Because one of my goals, honestly, for Focus 3, for my company, is I want to liberate children from the tyranny of comparison. Have you noticed that today kids are comparing themselves to others? And have you noticed it's killing some of our kids? I know that hits home. It does in every high school. It does in every school district. And so let's help people go on the journey. But I want you to think about the R Factor today, the message today, elite. First, don't think about the students. First, think of yourself. Because it's a journey. And ladies and gentlemen, you can't lead students on a journey you're not on. Did you hear what I said? Are you pursuing best version of you? Or have you settled for something less? Are you a better teacher? Are you prepared to be a better teacher this year than you were last year? Or are you a ditto? Same. I've met them. I've met them in athletics. I've met them in business. I've met them in banking. I've met them in hospitals. A ditto teacher, a ditto leader, a ditto coach, a ditto executive. Same this year as last year. Not 10 years of experience, the same experience 10 years in a row. And so the cool thing, though, about better today than yesterday, better tomorrow than today, this is really neat. The only way that happens is incrementally. There are no quantum leaps in this growth process. There's no giant leaps. It's all very incremental. Very incremental. But I want to make sure you understand something about the physics of development, the physics of human growth. If you commit to better today than yesterday, better tomorrow than today, you just get a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better, pursuing best version of you, here's what's going to happen. You're going to run into what we call the edge. And the edge is where your talent stops, but you still need to build skill. Notice my definition of elite has nothing to do with talent or IQ, right? Best version of, did I mention talent? Did I mention IQ? No. Not about aptitude, it's about will. Here's the thing we know about elite. Will precedes skill. And so when you get to the edge is the place where you still need to build skill, but you don't have talent for it. Therefore, and I want you to write this down, if not physically, write it down in your mind. You need to embrace productive discomfort. So embracing productive discomfort means you have to acknowledge the fact that it's hard work to build skill you don't have talent for. And notice how I described it, the verb that I used, embrace productive discomfort. When I say embrace, what image comes to mind? Hugging it, yeah, exactly, hugging it. When it comes to doing the hard things that make you better, go out and get it. Don't tolerate it, don't accept it, embrace it. Hug it, kiss it, on the cheek, not on the mouth. Grab that thing. Every elite person, whether athletics, the arts, business, any place, the elite pursue productive discomfort. They go after it. They don't just accept it, they go get it. So here's the real challenge for all of us, is to create the environment. So this is called the performance pathway. And it simply describes the physics of the performance of all organizations, whether it's, a hospital, bank, a team, a school. It's leaders build culture. Culture drives and energizes behavior, and behavior produces results. That's just physics. It's non-negotiable. And reverse engineer it, look at it from right to left. Elite results come from elite behavior. Doesn't say elite strategies or budgets or technology or operating efficiency. It says behavior. Because behavior is the one thing that affects everything. What if you have an A+ strategy and B- behavior? What do you get? Results what? A+ strategy, B- behavior. What do you get? At best, B- results. So we want to produce great results, we have to behave in a way that produces those results. And then we have to have a culture that drives and sustains and energizes and reinforces that behavior, which is why you see the arrows going back and forth around culture and behavior. And then leaders are the ones who initiate the culture. They don't build it by themselves, but leaders initiate it. Leaders are the energy source for culture. Now, real quick, when we say leadership, I'm not talking about title or position. I'm talking about mindset and behavior. Real quick. Leadership is not authority based on a position you have. It's influence based on trust you've earned by how you behave. Leadership is not authority based on a position you have. It's influence based on trust you've earned based on how you behave. I know people who have positional authority who suck at leadership. And I know people who have no positional authority who are awesome at leadership because they behave in a way that inspires and influences and motivates and energizes other people. And so that's that pathway that we talk about. And real quick before I move on, keep in mind this about leadership. When it comes to leadership and culture, leadership in anything, if it's not happening in you, it won't happen through you. I mean, every person in this room, every classified staff, every certified staff, every administrator, I don't care, whatever you do in this school district, you are an influencer, which means you're a leader. Make sure it's happening inside of you. It can't happen through you unless first it's happening in you. You know, you hear the term core values? Raise your hand if you've heard the term core values more than 100 times in your career. Yeah, exactly. What's core mean? Anybody know what the word core means? Center is the concept, but it's not the meaning. Who said that? Are you a Latin teacher? How'd you know that? Oh, you heard me speaking for... Smart ass. Love you, brother. Is he? Is he? Okay. Core is Latin for heart. Like I said, I've been doing this for 3.5 decades, and I've noticed that a lot of companies and schools have poster values, but they don't have core values. Because core describes where real value should reside, which is on the human heart. Now, here's the hard thing, but the real thing about core values and culture. You're the only one who decides what goes on inside your heart. No one can put something inside your heart but you. And I've noticed this about leadership. What comes from the heart touches the heart. If it's not happening in you, it's not going to happen through you. So I want to challenge your heart today. Today is my heart to yours for just a few minutes on some stuff that I think makes a big difference for this enterprise, this wonderful mission, this incredible why called education. You got a phenomenal calling. Does that make sense? Awesome. There we go. So if we all buy in and believe in, we get the upper arrow. If we don't, we get the lower arrow. If we all buy in, we get alignment. If we all commit to the heart, we get alignment. If we don't, we get scrambled. Let me make this really, really clear. The top would be Southwest Airlines, the bottom, Delta. We good? You know what I mean? Sorry. Or United, or American. What's it like driving to work for this company right here? What's it like driving home from that company? Actually, I've driven around Cincinnati. That's what it's like driving around Cincinnati right there, or Columbus. But in fact, here's a much better way to talk about it. I think this is a better description of alignment, isn't it? A lot of different sizes, a lot of different shapes, a lot of different colors, a lot of different... But notice what binds us together in this aligned culture. Shared belief. Now again, when I say the word belief, I'm not talking concept or idea. I'm talking about what? Something you've put on your heart. And something you're encouraging and cultivating in the heart of someone else. That's where you get alignment. This is a powerful thing. Now, for you physics teachers out there, those who have studied it, beware of entropy. Entropy is the second law of thermodynamics. It's the law of physics that says systems tend to move towards disorder. And check this out. Your school is a human system. In fact, it's a human system first and an education system second. And the success of the education system is contingent upon the human system. Well, this is a human system in alignment because of shared belief. But each one of those people on that, each department, each arrow on there made a choice of what went on his or her heart. So beware of entropy. Entropy is the enemy of alignment. It's the enemy of shared culture. You have to fight for this alignment. But it's a fight from the heart. All right, so the reality is there are two skill sets that make all this happen. And if you're going to have success in any kind of organization, you need behavior skills and job skills. And job skills are the task-specific competencies that you need to fulfill your role. And every role in every organization has job skills. And they're very important, and I'm not minimizing them at all. But there's another skill set called behavior skills that determine how effectively you actually apply your job skills. And behavior skills are competencies that you need for success every place in life. For example, listening is a behavior skill. Thinking, decision-making, problem-solving is a behavior skill. Communication and collaboration is a behavior skill. Emotional management is a behavior skill. And the rule is this: job skills rise no higher than behavior skills. And how about this? No amount of technical competence can overcome a behavior skill gap. How about this? How much of your waking time do you spend doing three things? Thinking and making decisions, communicating, collaborating with other people, and dealing with how you feel about stuff. How much of your waking time do you spend doing those three things? All of it? What's the impact of those three areas on how you do your job? Huge. Just take emotional management. How many people have to be in a bad mood for it to be an uncomfortable day at school? One, do not look around. How many have to be in a bad mood? How many people have to be in a bad mood at night in your house for it to be an uncomfortable evening in your home? One. Rule in our house is simple. If mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. The corollary is this: if daddy's not happy, no one cares. I mean, you wonder why I travel. It's like, what do you mean? I'm kidding. My wife's awesome. My wife, by the way, is a 4th degree black belt in karate. I'm nice. Real nice. All the time. So I love this slide. Maybe this is the favorite visual that I ever present, called 20 square feet. Because the culture of Mason City Schools, there's the district culture, but then there's the school, the room, and 20 square feet. So there's the building, then there's the classroom. The classroom could be a bus, could be the lunchroom, could be the lacrosse team or the cross-country team. But then 20 square feet is this wonderful metaphor that represents every single person's sphere of ownership of the culture of this district. It's an amazing illustration. 20 square feet simply states this: you have 100% control of what goes on inside your 20 square feet. Outside your 20 square feet, you have influence and impact. Inside, you have control. And so an elite culture is when everyone owns their 20 square feet. And you're the only person who decides. When Mason hired you, they handed you 20 square feet of the school. People know my love for research, so they say, where'd you get 20? 10 sounded small, 30 sounded weird, 20 sounded good. Purely arbitrary. I said it in Europe one time, and the guy says to me, this is an executive, he goes, excuse me, I have contention. Oh yeah, what's your contention? I'm global director of this and global manager of that, and my sphere of influence greatly exceeds 20 square feet. What full American on him? Do that, you start with, dude, it's a metaphor. Want to add zeros? Add zeros. Want to go metric? Go metric. I really don't care. I'm cool. Whatever. But the point is this: you have ownership, and you're the only one who decides what goes on inside your 20 square feet. So my admonition, my challenge, my invitation, would you please be best version of you in your 20 square feet? Would you please pursue a little bit better today than you were yesterday, a little bit better tomorrow than you were today? That's my request, my invitation to go on the journey. And it's an imperfect journey. It's progress, not perfection. There are mistakes, difficulties, obstacles. And here's the other thing. When you're on the journey, take some people with you. Take some colleagues with you. Take some students with you. And if the more people go on that journey, what starts to happen? We start to align our belief and behavior around a common standard, and some pretty powerful things start to happen. So inside our 20 square feet, we have a battle, though. And it's awesome to be invited on the journey, but here's the battle. There's a line in life, and every day you're either above it or below it. Above that line is what we call discipline-driven behavior, and below that line is default behavior. Pretty straightforward. Discipline, default. Best version of you, average version of you. You choose. That slide right there is you and me. You choose, so do I. Notice the characteristics of discipline-driven: intentional, on purpose, skillful. Intention, I know what. Purpose, I know why. Skill, I know how. At least I'm working towards it. Default, impulse, autopilot, resistant. Emotion, convenience, comfort zone. Now, real quick, the word discipline, just to make sure we're on the same page, discipline does not mean punishment. The punishment people hijacked this word years ago. We're reclaiming the word. Actually, it's a Latin word. I know this. One second. Decaf water. I know it's Latin because I took 4 years of Latin in high school from Mrs. Winifred Drum. who was born just after the Earth's crust cooled, and she was neat. Tons of knowledge. Woo! She knew stuff because she was there. Do we teach Latin at Mason High? We do? That's so sad. Wenny witty wiki. Okay, so she'd walk into Latin class and say, Salve discipuli. Greetings, students. Discipline is the Latin word for student. It means learn. The word discipline does not mean punishment, it means learning. It literally means you make the decision to get better every day by consistently applying principles to your life. That's the literal definition of the word discipline. I'm going to say it again. You personally make the decision to be better every day in the pursuit of some goal by consistently applying principles to your life. In other words, discipline is not something someone does to you, it's something you choose to do for yourself. It's not imposed, it's chosen. Or not. If it's not chosen, you get open screen test, you get default. See, this is the thing about default. It's very seductive. No one wakes up in the morning and says, today I'm going to work to be average. I'm pursuing mediocrity today. And we laugh, but guess what happens though? No one says that, but what happens? A little compromise here, a little justification there, and all of a sudden we start to slide slowly into average version of ourselves, and we drop below the line. Never happened to you? It's happened to me. I've done it, and I know this. Who else has done it? So this is a journey. This is an invitation to choose that above the line discipline-driven and get there. Here's the system that we use, the simple system for discipline-driven behavior. The simple system for navigating the stuff of life with intention, purpose, and skill. E+R equals O, or simply put, event plus response equals outcome. And it teaches us something very powerful about how life works. We don't control the events of life. We don't control the outcomes of life, but we always have control over how we choose to respond. Success is not about the E. Success is about how you manage the R factor. And think, you make R factor decisions all day, every day. Events come at you. In fact, the alarm goes off in the morning, there's your first R factor decision. Get up or snooze. That's the first decision. And then, it's what are you going to have for breakfast and what are you going to wear? And then you start driving, and driving is an R factor thing. All kinds of events happen, and you're choosing to manage your R. And then you come into this building, or the middle school, or the high school, this building, or the elementary school where you are, and you're making R-factor decisions all day, every day. And the outcomes that you get are not determined by the E, they're determined by how you manage the R. And it's that straightforward. And you'll notice then that we have a decision to make go back, well, there it is. And E happens, you're going to be what? Here or here. And the above the line R is very different than the below the line. The discipline-driven response produces a very different outcome than the default-driven response. Let me go back for a second, because look at the statement up there first. Let that sink in for a moment. It's the built-in nature of E+R equals O. It's why we love to use it as a tool, have used it for 35 years. The outcome that you get is determined by the response that you choose. If you want a better O, choose a better R. And what part of your life does this not apply? This applies every place, folks. This applies every place. Own your R factor. Own the way you choose to respond. And I love the fact that the O is natural feedback about how well your R is working. If you're not getting the O you want, the universe has spoken. Get better. Raise your hand if you have your own children at home. You're a parent. Raise your hand. Is this not your message to your kids? And imagine if we all make the decision to choose that above the line R, that discipline-driven R. because that's the one that works. That's the one that gets us where we want to go, okay? So I love what Danny Steele said, if you follow him. He said, we can't control the funding, the mandates, or the parents. We can control the energy that we bring every single day. I'm a deep believer in create your own energy. If you follow us on social media, Brian Kight, my son, is our CEO, and he's messages. Tim Harshbarger, Tim, are you here? Tim, is that he left? He abandoned me? We all believe deeply that leaders create their own energy. You can get energy one of two places: outside of yourself, which is extrinsic, or inside of yourself, which is intrinsic. Leaders create their own energy. There's have you noticed a lot of negative energy out there today? So I love this. Leaders create, give, and then replenish every day. They create it and then they give all day long. Give, positive energy. And they're super tired at the end of the day. And then they know how to replenish. That's a recovery strategy. The next morning, the alarm goes off. They come to school. They do the same thing. Because they recovered, they're able to what? Give. And they're tired at the end of the day. And then they recover that night. Woe be to the person who doesn't create or recover. Woe be to the person who doesn't create or recover. And I don't know how this has happened, maybe because I teach this all the time. I have no idea how this has happened exactly. I'm 65 years old, and I have more energy than I've ever had for this topic. And when I'm in front of kids, or I'm in front of teachers, I'm in front of certified staff or classified staff, or maybe you can feel it now. Because I believe in what you do. I know your why. I have the same why. It's the kids. But I've met teachers that don't have the fire. They've allowed the frustration on the outside to diminish the fire on the inside. They're not burning as brightly as they used to. They've allowed the externals to get to them. Maybe somebody in this room right now, your fire is just maybe not quite as hot as it's been. You're kind of diminishing. Today's Rekindle Day, if that's you. It's rediscovery for the mission. Because we have a wonderful, wonderful why to educate these young people. Are we on the same page on this? Amen. Okay. All right. So let's go through real quickly the R Factor toolbox. Let me make sure time-wise. What do we got? Am I good? How much time do I have? Okay. Whew. I got to be done by 3. Here we go. Just kidding. Hey, it's pretty cool having your kid work with you and have CEO know. Anybody here have children of stroller age? Oh, a bunch. Well, Brian is our CEO now, and I want to share with you a parenting technique I use as an R-Factor parenting technique when he was stroller age. You may want to try this at home. You ready for this? When Brian was that age, I bought a twin stroller, put him in the left-hand side. I left the right-hand side empty. And if he was being disobedient, I would lean down and say, remember something, son? You had a twin. Discipline, default. Elite, average. Stay in the family, we get rid of you. Consequences. Hey, just real quick, that's a story. I didn't do that. Last week I was speaking to a group in Atlanta, and 2 people came up to me afterward and said, you were a good speaker, but we can't believe what you did to your kid. I said, it's just a joke. Oh, okay. So here's step number 1 in the R-Factor toolbox. Press pause to gain clarity. Just press pause. Don't run. Have you noticed something? That oftentimes your first reaction's not your best one. We all have crazy thoughts sometimes, don't we? Crazy things come into our head. So here's my advice when a crazy thing comes to your head. Press pause and don't nurture that crazy thought, number 1. Number 2, replace it with a good thought. And number 3, do not tweet it. And don't put it on Facebook. So let's press pause and then use this system to gain clarity about what to do. And ask yourself 3 powerful questions. Simple, powerful, using an intentional system. Number 1, what O do I want? Number 2, what E do I have? And number 3, what response will get me there? What O do I have? Or what O do I want? What E do I have? What R do I need? Now, if you don't ask that question or press pause, you're probably going to act on default. You're going to go with the strongest impulse or the most comfortable habit in the moment, whether or not it's effective. So step number one, and there's a lot more to it, but we're going to give you just this little taste of it. Press pause and gain clarity using this system. And then here's what you don't do. Do not BCD. This is the big no-no. This is blame, complain, defend. When things don't go the way we want, we have a tendency to blame other people, complain about stuff, and defend our own behavior. And have you noticed it's not effective? It doesn't work. And it's social. We don't do it by ourselves. We recruit others into the converse, unfortunately. So here is a very sophisticated coaching from me to you. Stop it! Don't do it. Get rid of it. Immediately and ruthlessly. Any BCD at Mason? If Dr. Phil were here, you know what he would say? How's that working for you? Hey, real quick though, I want you to understand something. The opposite of BCD is not silence. The opposite of BCD is resolution or resilience. We do not ask people to not talk about problems. We say, just don't complain about them. Solve them, that's resolution, or navigate through them, that's resilience. Bring me your problems. Let's put them on the table. We're going to talk about them to either solve them or navigate through them with courage. What we're not going to do is ignore them or gossip about them. No BCD. Well, that requires another skill, and this is a big one. This is the hardest one. Get your mind right. And what we mean by get your mind right is choose the mindset and attitude that's appropriate for the circumstance you're in. Get your mind right for listening. Get your mind right for daily execution. Get your mind right for having a difficult conversation with someone you have to talk to. Get your mind right for navigating through adversity. That there's different situations call for different mindsets. But this is the whole principle. This is so incredible that your R factor is internal and mental first and external and behavioral second. And if you want to be great on the outside through your behavior, you have to be disciplined in the way you manage your attitude and your mindset. Now, there's obviously way more than I could possibly talk about when it comes to getting your mind right, but I'll give you two things. Number one, manage what you pay attention to. Manage your focus. That's step number one in getting your mind right. Focus on. Have you noticed just because something gets your attention doesn't mean it deserves it? Stop giving your attention to things that don't deserve your attention. It's called the negativity bias. We are attracted to negative things. Negative things get our attention more than positive things. Have you noticed this? Like, I don't know you. I mean, obviously, I'm looking around, I see some faces, and up there I see these lights up there. But I just know statistics. I know psychometrics. There are people right now in this auditorium who tend towards the negative. Ooh, that got quiet. And that's your bend. So this is hard. It takes discipline. You need to change that. Stop fixating on the negative. Stop fixating on things that irritate you. It's called redirect. It's called reframing. It's maybe the most important skill you can possibly have is the ability to reframe a situation from the negative to the positive. Am I right? And then the second thing is manage your self-talk. Manage how you talk to yourself. Folks, if you focus on negative things and talk about negative things, how are you going to feel? Negative. How are you going to act? Let's not do that. Let's get our minds right by focusing on and talking about things in a way that are positive and productive. The third thing is step up. Step up to the situations that life throws at you. And every day, there's things you need to step up to. And we break it down into this. There's 4 things. Step up now, step up daily over time, step up to predictable things, and step up to adversity. We're going to train you in this, by the way. You're going to get trained in this. This is just a taste. I'm going to show you how to do it. Let me tell you about just one of them. The first one up there. Now, step up now. How about this? The only time available to you to respond to something is right. Yesterday you can't because it's what? Tomorrow you can't because it's, so we call it win the moment. Life is a series of moments. Win them. Win them. And here's what I learned. You can't win the moment unless you're in the moment. You got it. But I also learned this, because when I first developed this, I thought, okay, I'm going to win all the moments, and I'm going to have a perfect day. I'm going to win them all. And I ran myself ragged trying to win all the moments in a day and discovered it's impossible. You can't win all the moments in a day. So guess what I discovered? Just don't lose 2 in a row. If you lose one, that's a signal to reframe. Regain your focus, regain your energy, and win the next moment. And then number 4, adjust in it. Be world-class at change. I mean, do not resist. I don't know, if you resist change, what world are you paying attention to? And the key to this is we want change without discomfort, but the world doesn't work that way. And the reality is this, back to this phrase I used earlier, if you want real change, you've got to embrace the productive discomfort that real change requires. And so the world around, is education changing? Same as it was 10 years ago? No. So we have to embrace the changes that our world is asking of us. And then number 5, make a difference. This is huge. Your R is an E for others. The way you manage the R factor creates an experience for other people. Make it awesome. Make it phenomenal. If you're discipline-driven on your R, you're going to give people a great E. If you're default-driven, it's a not so much. And so we must embrace the reality that our R is deeply personal and never private. Manage your R to give other people a great experience. And then the final one is build skill, which is kind of full circle, isn't it? Best version of you, better today than you were yesterday, better tomorrow than you were today. I mean, I suggest this from an educational perspective. Invest as much time understanding who you teach as you do in what you teach. I also believe this deeply about education. You'll never treat students any better than the way you treat each other. You'll never treat students any better than the way you treat. Don't talk about each other, talk to each other. Of course you've got disagreements with each other. Of course you do. You're humans. So what should you do? Sit down and what? Talk about them. That's an elite culture. That's how that works. Elevate your love without lowering your standards. That's what this is all about. So the challenge for us all, I think, is this, is to have a system and then to use it, to trust the system, E+R=O, do the work, the 6 disciplines, and get better every day. So I'm just about to finish. Let me ask this question real quick because I want you to understand the universal applicability of E+R=O. Where do you tend to manage your R factor better, at work or at home? Raise your hand if you think you tend to manage your R better at work. Raise your hand. Look at that. Why do we do this? Why do we give our families our R factor leftovers? It's an energy thing, I know. I was with, last week, I did this for a bunch of bankers, and one guy says, well, you can't get fired at home. Guy next to him said, actually, been fired twice. So my invitation to you, this journey I'm inviting you on, is E+R=O. Use it. It's a tool. It's not a program. It's not an initiative. It's a framework for effective, intentional, purposeful thinking. Use it when you're navigating, when you're driving to school. Use it all day in school. Use it in whatever clubs or sports that you're involved with, and then use it as you're driving home, and please use it at home with your families. It works if you apply it, and it's really cool we do it all together and go on this collective journey. So here's how to get a hold of me. At least you can follow me on Twitter. That's my Twitter feed on top. I'd love to have you follow on Twitter. I send out this stuff. I send out R Factor, culture, motivational, insightful stuff on Twitter. It's at Timothy Kight, K-I-G-H-T. There's no N in that. That's our website. Please go to the website. And if you sign up for the daily discipline that my son Brian sends out every morning, 6 a.m., a little email at 6 a.m. Eastern Time. It's very brief. I think you really get a lot of benefit from it. He's doing a great job with it. And we also podcast, and you can find us, Focus 3 Podcast, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher. It's on YouTube. I think we're on Spotify now. It's only $100 a download. You love it. It's pretty cheap. No, it's free, obviously. It's a podcast. So great being with you all this afternoon. Have a fantastic year. Look forward to more opportunities to be with you. Thank you very much.